Hello, everyone. On behalf of the International Association of Scientific and Technological University Libraries and Thammasat University Libraries, I'd like to welcome you to the Innovation Management Workshop, What's Now and What's Next. Our first speaker will be Thammasat University Library Director, Ms. Jemjan Nopabudkan.
Dr. Nithinan Wissawesuwan, Vice Rector of International Affairs, Thammasat University, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests. On behalf of the organizer of the Innovation Management Workshop, What's Now, What's Next, I would like to welcome you to Bangkok and to today was a good time spent among friends. Libraries throughout history have had to keep up with change and innovation from the Mesopotamian era 2,600 years ago to the current day. Our job began with the very earliest recording of information was first record on clay tablet, then on papyrus, then on to silk scroll, parchment, and paper, from handmade book to printing press, and now e-books. Our job has gotten easier with each new innovation. No more lifting heavy slab of clay, no more trying to decipher handwritten manuscript. The big exchange, however, came in the 20th century with the introduction of computer technology. Before this, we dealt with solid objects, be they book or other materials, things we could get a hold of and count. Now we deal with electronic signal. People used to come to the library and check book out. Now our users come online, demanding the information they want right then and there. There has been greater change in our world in the last 50 years than in the past 4,000. In the 78 years that the Thammasat University Library have been operating, we have gone through many changes. Some of us had to relearn everything we knew about librarianship, such as when we changed from Dewey Decimal to LC classification, or when we switched to AACR2 for bibliographic record. Some of us had to learn how to type at the age of 40 when electronic automation replaced cataloging sheets. Now that we are finally comfortable with Mark 21 format, we have to learn IDA and Koha. All these changes have not been for the sake of change alone. They have been for the improvement of our service to our users, and there certainly will be many more opportunities to improvement in the future. But how can anyone, library or organization, be expert in every field or knowledge? In this age of information explosion, it is impossible, and that is the reason for this workshop. We have to learn from one another to find our way in which others have improved, and to learn from each other's mistakes, to discuss what direction best suits our profession, and to learn from each other and how best to anticipate the future. In this effort, we are thankful to have the sponsorship of IATA, SEC Publication, Industrial Marketing Co. Limited, Wiserve Technology Co. Limited, and others. We are thankful also to the representative of prominent academic library from Australia, Cambodia, Germany, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, South Africa, the United Kingdom, Vietnam, and Thailand, who have come to share their knowledge with us. We are sure that all participants of this workshop will benefit greatly from their experience. This is just one small step along the superhighway of information and knowledge. We at the Thammasat University Library hope to take many more steps with you on collaboration for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jemjan. Our next speaker will be Dr. Nithinan Wissawesuwan, Assistant Professor of Economics and Vice Rector of International Affairs at Thammasat University.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome you to Thailand, welcome you to Bangkok, and some of you, welcome you to Thammasat University if you have a chance to make your trip to the university. Let me start from this. Distinguished guests, this is my greatest pleasure to represent my rector of Thammasat University, Professor Dr. Somkit Lertpaitun, who actually wishes to come here and presided over this event. Unfortunately, as the rectors, always busy, and then it is my greatest pleasure because it allows me to witness a very important event and a very important collaboration of the academic that supports the education for all. This is not only the consortium of the libraries, but this is the key mechanism that you will support the education. And Thammasat itself, if you have known our founder of university, Professor Dr. Pridi Panomyong, stated from the beginning of the foundation of the university. He said, "University is like a well that can quench the thirst of knowledge of the people. It is their right to have open opportunity for education." Therefore, the library was founded in unison with the university because we realized that university is to be well, as Dr. Pridi stated, and the library must be the reservoir of knowledge that is essential for education. So Thammasat University these days has the aim to promote internationalization as well as the quality of learning and excellence. We cannot have only students and professors. We need libraries, and we need support as the mechanism that can disseminate information for our students and professors to share their knowledge and experiences. So the university recognizes very important role of the libraries. At the moment, the university has 4 campuses: Thar Prajan campus in the city, Rangsit campus in the northern part, in about 50 kilometers north of Bangkok, and another campus in Lampang, which can provide the education for northern region, and Pattaya Center, which provides education in innovation. So all together are linked very efficiently, that we are amazed, even though we faced with the flood crisis last year. We lost a number of books last year, but throughout our spirits of Thammasat as well as alumni, we could recover very quickly, and the university can function fully as it was in the past years. So Thammasat itself recognizes very important role of libraries, and we support all the functions. We wish that libraries will provide more and more roles to the education. It is not only education for our students that I like to emphasize, it's actually the learning for society. And I do wish that this forum will provide education and quality of learning at excellence to all. It is also the aim of Thammasat University to support all kinds of mechanisms. And therefore, I would like to congratulate the International Association of Scientific and Technological University Libraries, an organizing committee, for making this event possible. I also like to thank all the staff of the Thammasat University Libraries for their best efforts in coordinating and allowing this event to be possible. I also like to thank all the speakers who are here, and I know that even though you are not speakers who will be presenting over here, I'm sure that your value experiences as well as ideas that you will share later on as comments, questions, answers, whatever you have, not only in this room, during afternoon tea, during lunch and dinner, as well as the excursion to somewhere else away from Bangkok, will provide you a lot of insightful experiences. And I hope that this is not the end of your meeting. This is not just only the meeting. I hope that this is the beginning of your collaboration, beginning of your network, and in the future, I'm sure that social network the email, Facebook, and you just mentioned, our director just mentioned, we have the information technology that can provide you a very close relationship, and that will be closer and closer. Thammasat University, other universities in Thailand, or any libraries in the world will be very closely connected. I'm sure that you will keep in touch in the future. So on behalf of Thammasat, once again, this is a very opportune time for us and for me myself as well to meet all of you. I wish that this meeting will provide you very productive, very insightful discussion, and in the future I hope that you will join hand in hand so that you can provide learning for society. Thank you very much and hope you enjoy and have very pleasant stay in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Our next speaker will be Professor Ainsley Du, the University Librarian at La Trobe University. She's the Deputy President of the Council of Australian Librarians and the President of the International Association of Technological University Libraries.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this IATL workshop. And thank you to the Vice Rector for your very generous welcome to us. The IATL, on behalf of the IATL board, we are very pleased and excited to. So, welcome to this workshop in Bangkok, and thank you to the Vice Rector for your generous comments. The IATL board is delighted to be here and to have the workshop here in Thailand and in Bangkok. This is the first time we've had a workshop here, and it's wonderful that so many people from the region are able to join us here. The board, we had our board meeting yesterday. We have 2 face-to-face meetings a year, and so one of the things we always like to do is when we have a meeting to have it in a different country, a country where we have IATL members, but also have a workshop for local librarians. And by local, local's getting bigger and bigger. So in this case, it's for the whole region, and you're from many countries, and so that makes the experience so much richer for us all. I'd also like to thank Thammasat University for organising the workshop. The board just fly in, we have our meeting, and it's all here organised and arranged for us. And particularly to Srichan and your colleagues, you've done wonderful work and organisation to get us all here. And I think we're going to have a very valuable couple of days. We've got presentations from a number of people in the region and also from board members who are from all over the world who will also contribute. But in my presentation, although I'm from La Trobe University in Australia, we have another colleague from Australia, and I wanted to talk primarily about IATL, to tell you something about my university, La Trobe University in Melbourne, and just to make some introductions to the theme, which I thought was a wonderful theme about what's new, what's next, and improving on a good idea. And one of the ways we improved on a good idea in our library was to change the building, and here you can see at the entrance they're putting the finishing touches to the library. But of course buildings are only one part of what we do. So I'll start by talking about IATL. The presentations from this conference we put on our IATL website, so you will be able to see all this, so don't worry about taking notes unless you want to, but you'll be able to find it again. So IATL was started in 1955, so we are more than 60 years old now. And I think the important things that haven't changed in that time are that we began as an association bringing together technological universities throughout the world. Now that's not just universities of technology, that's any universities that have masters and doctoral programs in science and engineering and technology. So it's very broad, but our focus is science and engineering and technology. And this is one of the things that makes us different from other associations. So this is where we can add our value. And we're also an association of library directors and senior managers. So we're different from some other associations. The people who come to IATL meetings, to our conferences, we hope to get as many people as possible. But we also, within the board, and we have a core within our association of very senior librarians who are making the key decisions. And we know that our sponsors really value that because they know they're talking to the decision makers, the people who manage the budget. I hope I'm not talking too quickly. I know that in Australia and New Zealand we tend to talk fast. So, but if you can see what's on the screen, then you'll be able to read it and listen to what I'm saying. We changed our name in 2009 because IATL stands for International Association of Technological University Libraries, and we felt that might just give the impression that we were just for universities of technology. So we changed our name to, so it's even longer to say, takes longer, International Association of Scientific and Technological University Libraries. But we didn't put the S in our acronym. It would make it harder to say, and people know IATL. We know what IATL is. But our focus is very much science and technology. And we're, of course, an international network between libraries of a similar type. So it means that while we can discuss general issues of teaching and learning and research, we're discussing them often from the point of view of the issues for science and technology and engineering. I just thought we've been developing our strategic plan, which we confirmed yesterday, and I thought I'd just give you a quick overview of our strategic plan and some of our activities. And of course, when we have these activities, it's all of us as members of IATL to contribute, because we don't have a big office with a lot of paid staff. We have a part-time staff member who manages our membership records, but the work of IATL is done by us as IATL members, and I think that makes it very rewarding to belong to, because everyone can contribute in that way. So our vision is to be acknowledged as the International Association for Science and Technology and Engineering academic library community, and to continue to future developments in scholarly information through a cooperative network of senior library directors. So that's what we see as our role. And we do this by promoting cooperation in the domains of knowledge and research through collaboration, by working together with each other, and through a number of services and projects. And they're listed on our IATL website. So our strategic plan, we've got 4 main aims, and under each of those aims we have a number of activities. And yesterday at our meeting, I didn't have time to update this slide, but what we decided was that aim 4, value to members, we wanted to put that first, because when we want to encourage people to be part of IATL, they want to know, well, what is the benefit of being part of IATL? So I might start with aim 4 at the bottom of the page. And we need to demonstrate value to our members by actively engaging in their needs. And one of the things about IATL is that it is a small size, but that means that we can have a high level of cooperation. So that's our first aim, and we very much want to hear from our members what they value from what IATL does. We're using more and more, we've got our website, but we are adding blogs to the website so that we can interact with members, and we are going to be doing quick surveys. We have done surveys in the past, but we're going to be doing more surveys to ask our members, what do you want from IATL? And so that the board can see that we are on the right track, that we are doing the things that people value. Then going up to the top, what is listed there as aim 1 is about collaboration. So we collaborate with, there are other international associations. We know that we're not the only one, and we want to be sure that we are doing something that's different, but that we will work with other international associations. And many of you may have been to IFLA conferences, and you'll know that IFLA is also an international association and a library association, but IFLA covers the whole field of librarianship, whereas IATL looks at university libraries and from a science and technology focus. So we want to work with IFLA, but we're not the same as IFLA. We're not trying to do the same things. Another organisation that we cooperate with is ICSTE, the International Council for Scientific and Technological Information. And ICSTE regards IATL. On the ICSTE website, they list IATL as one of its associate members. So ICSTE, they're similar to us, again, in that they're international and they're interested in science and technology, but they're not just university libraries. They're also publishers. They're the large scientific unions, the International Union of Physics, the International Union of Chemistry. So they have a different focus as well. So we feel that within those three international bodies, we have a role that's different, but we can cooperate. We also have the aim of communication and advocacy. So because we consist of senior library managers, we've developed a worldwide network that is of influential library leaders and providers of science and engineering content. And we're very keen to support developing countries through the portfolio responsibilities and travel grants. So at our conferences, our next conference next year will be in Cape Town, and every year we offer travel grants to give people the opportunity to come possibly from countries where they haven't been strong members of IATL and they haven't been able to attend conferences, and it introduces new people to the association. And so this workshop is very important for extending that message of IATL. Now, I'll just quickly tell you something about my university in Australia. So La Trobe University is one of Australia's pioneering universities. It was established in the 1960s when there was a big increase in universities in Australia. It has more than 30,000 students, including students from over 90 countries. It was named after Charles La Trobe, who was a Lieutenant Governor of the colony of Victoria in Australia in 1851. So that's where it got its French name. And it's set in 330 hectares of beautiful bushland. It's in Melbourne, in the city of Melbourne, but it is lovely, attractive grounds with a wildlife sanctuary with koalas and all of those, and kangaroos, all of those animals that you associate with Australia. So it's a very attractive campus, and if any of you ever have the opportunity to visit, I'm sure that you would enjoy being there and you would be welcomed by the library. So I just wanted to give a quick example of one of the things La Trobe did to improve on a good idea. La Trobe teaching and learning process has been undergoing a big change. It's called Design for Learning, and it looks at the way students learn much more collaboratively. They work together, they work in groups, because this is how we work when we're in the workforce. We work together, not just alone by ourselves. And so what this meant in the library is that when students had projects to work on together, the library wasn't designed that way. It was designed for individual study, to work by yourself, to not make a noise, to not talk to anyone else. And so the students were sitting all over the floor. They had power cords that they plugged into a PowerPoint that might have been for the cleaner's vacuum cleaner. Anywhere they could find a PowerPoint, which was quite dangerous because then people could trip over the PowerPoint. They were cutting things out, they were sitting in groups, and they were pulling any table over they could. So the teaching and learning changed, but the library wasn't set up for it. And the library, we had 2 million volumes in our collection, and it was like the library building was for the collection, not for teaching and learning. So we decided that we needed to move 40% of the collection out of the library into storage, the material that is now available electronically, so it's not used very much. And we created almost double the number of spaces in the library from 1,100 to 2,000, over 2,000. And now there are about 10,000 students a day come into the library. And one of the comments that our Vice-Chancellor made was that a few years ago people were saying, we're not going to need libraries, everything's electronic, we won't need them anymore. But the library as a place for learning is more important than ever, and our students are showing that that is what they want. They're coming into the library space. So we went from stacks to the web and transformed the way we collect in academic libraries. And I thought this article that was the College and Research Libraries last year said that if academic libraries are going to be successful, they need to deconstruct their legacy print collections. We need to say this isn't what's important anymore to have in the central university space, and move from collecting books item by item to purchase on demand for electronic books, to manage the transition to open access, and to focus on curating our unique collections. So the collections at my university that we've got, which are unique, some of our Indian collections are of material that's no longer available in India. And the Indian consulate in Melbourne was amazed to see what we had, and he's doing his research at the La Trobe Library because he can't get that material in India. So we didn't move our valuable collections out of the main library building, but we moved the material that people weren't using. And on the day that the new library opened, this is how popular it is. This is the sort of picture you would expect to see at a sale at a department store. And this was the students waiting for the doors to open and to be able to come in. And this is what it's like now. You don't have to sit on the floor, although some people like to sit on the floor. They still sit on the floor because that's how they like to study. But we have these work areas where you can use your own laptop. It's wireless everywhere. There's PowerPoints everywhere. You don't have to use the cleaners, vacuum cleaning PowerPoint. And you can work together, and the information that you're working on will be up on a screen, and you can all see what you're doing and you can all alter it. So that's been a real change. Now I just wanted to quickly run through top trends in academic libraries, and this was in the June this year edition of College and Research Libraries, looked at the top 10 trends in academic libraries, and we used this in my library's planning day. But when I was having a look at it, I was looking at these trends, and then I had a look at the topics we'd covered at IARTL conferences and at our recent conferences, and some of you I know have been able to attend IARTL conferences. We've been discussing these issues. The value has been we discuss them together and we give each other ideas, and we improve our ideas by talking to each other. So I'll quickly go through these top 10, and as I say, it'll be on our IARTL website, so you'll be able to go back to them then, or you can go to the June 2012 edition of College and Research Libraries. But the first thing is communicating value, and the Vice-Rector of Thammasat University said very nice things about the library, and we know that people do say nice things about the library. There is a feeling of goodwill to the library, but we also know that when budgets are tight, that goodwill doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to give up their budget to fund the library. So we have to prove our value more and more, and not just rely on the goodwill. And another of the big changes is in data curation. So these are the challenges as our researchers are collecting more and more of their research data, and it's in digital form. Who's going to look after it, and how are we going to keep that data for the future? In the past, it might have been surveys and they had it on paper on their filing cabinets. Now it might be on their thumb drive. What happens when you can no longer read that? So that's a really important role for libraries, and we've talked about this a lot in conferences. And one of the advantages of this is that it brings us closer together with researchers and the research process. We talk to researchers about what is your data management plan, how are you going to preserve that data, how are you going to describe it, which is just cataloguing, but that mightn't be something they'd thought of. So it gives us a conversation with researchers that we haven't had before, and this is a new role for us. Digital preservation of published material is also a really important area, and we buy more and more of our material in digital form rather than in print. So how is that going to be preserved in the long term? There are some international initiatives, but it is something that we need to really think about more carefully, and that can only be done by international cooperation. And there are big changes in higher education. At our board meeting yesterday, we each talked about what was happening in our countries and the changes in higher education. And we can no longer say that the university system that has lasted for 1,000 years is going to be the same. It's going to change. So what are the implications for libraries in that change? And how do we make sure that we're contributing to those changes? So these shifts in higher education have a huge impact on libraries and on the development of our collections. And we need to be involved in those discussions in our universities. Two more of the changes, of course, information technology is the driver of the futuristic change that we're looking at. And libraries have traditionally been early adopters of new technology. We need to make sure we keep up to date with that. And mobile environments as well, with mobile devices. Now, so many people have iPads, and it's really only 2 years ago. Before we didn't have iPads. It's just changed so quickly, and it's hard to imagine before, and smartphones. So that's been a focus in our conferences. Patron-driven e-book acquisition. This is quite different from the way we used to collect, by library staff working with academics and trying to build a collection for possible future needs. Now we buy things as our users say they want them, and we get them in electronic form. But managing licenses is something we have experience in, and we know often our academic colleagues don't have a lot of experience in managing licenses, and they can be signing licenses that may not be advantageous to them. So it's the role of the library to say, we can, as a consortium, we can get a better deal on, we can get this for a better price, we can look at the conditions of the license and make sure that we get the best value for our university. Scholarly communication is changing, of course, and publishing models are changing. And a number of libraries have taken up a role in being part of electronic publishing, so publishing their university's research material. That's a new role for us. And of course, to be able to keep up to date with all of these changes, we need to develop our staff. We have staff very often who were trained in quite a different time, and we need to be continually updating our training and bringing in staff with new skills that weren't necessarily required in libraries when some of us began our careers. And finally, this is number 10 of the top 10, if you've been counting them, is the user behaviour and expectations. So we have to pay much more attention to what our users say they want. They have a lot of other places where they can go for information. The library is no longer the sole source of scholarly information. And we're often not the first source of information. So our users often say the library is hard to use, or we use it as the last resort, or it's inconvenient. And if that's what people think of us, that's not good for our future. So we have to be constantly finding out what our users want and how can we provide it. So those are some big challenges, and I'm sure all of you are addressing those in many ways. And so I thought I'd just finish off by looking at our conferences in the last 3 years and some of the papers that have been given that have looked at some of these challenges. Our conference this year was in Singapore, and the theme of the conference was Library Strategies for New Generation Users, and I think some of you were there, but if you weren't there, the papers from that conference are already on our IATL website. We have our papers kept at Purdue University, manages them as a permanent repository, but you go to the IATL website and you can see the papers. And we opened that conference with a gong. So Choi, who was our conference convener, and his president, it started with real fanfare, and it was a very successful conference in your region. So the theme of this conference, I thought, was really inspired. Sometimes a theme, it's just a few words, but what did we mean by library strategies for new generation users? Well, it was saying, who are our libraries for? The focus is on the users, both learners and researchers. And what are these users like? Well, they're different. They're new generation. They want different things from library users 20 or 30 years ago. They've got different abilities. So we need to look at what the new generation users are like, and we need to design our libraries to meet their needs, not just wait until they ask us and then we say, well, we can do that or we can't do that. And why have an IATL conference on this theme? Well, universities are reshaping themselves to deal with global issues, and many of those issues can only be solved by science and technology. There are issues of climate change, of food security, of human security, of sustainability. So science and technology and engineering are key themes for our universities to be able to address the problems that the world is facing. So our libraries have a big part to play in dealing with these big issues that the whole world is facing. One of the papers, I just highlighted one or two, but one of them was from Uwe Rosemann, who's from the German National Library of Science and Technology, and they are going to be hosting the IATL conference in 2015. So if you can think ahead, you might want to, in Hanover in Germany, you might be able to apply for a travel grant, or you might be able to go to that conference. And he was talking about access to data and thinking about data as part of the infrastructure. Data, just as we used to say the libraries were an asset and we would value the asset by how many volumes we had and what they were worth, it's the data that's the university asset now. So we need to think about how do we look after that asset, just as we look after our buildings as an asset and our collections as an asset. How do we look after the data? And TIB in Germany are developing a lot of solutions for the scientific community so that they're not just looking after the data and keeping it safe and preserving it, but it can be citable and shareable. And to be able to share it, you've got to be able to describe it. And to describe it, that means you've got to catalogue it. These are all skills as librarians. We've used different terms. We've talked about cataloguing, but what we're talking about is being able to discover that information and for it to be retrievable and usable. So that will be very interesting to watch what's happening at TIB. Another paper was from a young man called Joe Murphy, who's a blogger, and his presentation's on SlideShare at the address given there. He talked about the fact that 31% of 18 to 24-year-olds use Twitter, and probably in the latest 2 months it's even more than 31%. So we have to look at how our young students are communicating with each other and make sure that we are working in their world. And then Joe Murphy told us about a whole range of applications, and they're just all acronyms that you may or may not know about, but 3Ring and Tumblr and Flipboard and Foursquare and Pinterest. And I think what this means is that in universities we've had large enterprise systems. For example, for e-portfolios, my university bought software for e-portfolios so that you can keep your own student assignments on a large system. But now you can do it on your smartphone. You don't have to do it on a big system on a university network. So we need to be aware of these changes and how people can curate their own material and keep their own university assignments for the future, because that's what these tools enable them to do. And then another paper which I was really impressed was from a colleague from Chalmers University in Sweden, and he talked about change as a service. We've talked in the last few years about how we have to accept change and we have to be able to cope with change, but this is about thinking change is one of the services we provide. We have to be ahead of the change. We have to see it as something that we are keeping ahead of our users and up to date with. And he said at his library 98% of their budget is spent on electronic resources, only 2% on print. But they looked at what their staff were doing, and they couldn't say that 98% of their staff were just dealing with electronic resources. So we still have staff who are dealing with resources that our users are no longer using. We have to shift the balance of what we're doing and what our services are. And so they were trying to cope with that by looking at the workflows of how they integrated their older systems, their legacy systems, with the new systems. They're no longer doing individual book selection. That's done through profiles, it's done electronically. And that was a very time-consuming process, and it's something that our liaison librarians love doing, and it's often very hard to persuade them. There's no point in carefully crafting the print collection for our users when our users are saying, we don't want this material, we want it online. So it's a challenge for working with our staff to shift from the things they love and the things that might have attracted them to being librarians. But we're not going to survive if we keep doing that. We will be like Kodak, making film when everyone has digital cameras. We have to be ahead of those changes. So they are looking at all of their processes and just seeing how the discovery layer, how they use that, how they use their processes to be much more efficient and to cut out doing some of the things that they traditionally did. And I believe that Daniel Forsman is giving a paper at the conference next year in Cape Town. So we'll look forward to hearing the update. That's right, Elisha. Yeah. So he went on to say they're surveying their current workflows, they're quantifying what they actually do now and what they need to do in the future, and looking at much more unified services, and they're evaluating that at the moment. So by next year we might have more information. Now, the year before we had our conference in Warsaw in Poland, and the theme was Libraries for an Open Environment, Strategies, Technologies and Partnerships. And we were looking at the globalisation of higher education, but particularly the issues of open access. So the papers from that conference are on our website. We met at Warsaw University of Technology, which is a beautiful university that managed to survive. Much of Warsaw was bombed during World War II, but this is where the library is, in this lovely building. The themes that we were looking at there were scholarly communication and open access, blended learning and e-learning, open resources, and repositories and digital libraries. So there were a lot of themes there, but it was all from that point of view of opening up knowledge. And the keynote speaker was Stephen Harnard, who, as I'm sure many of you know, has been a passionate advocate for open access for many years. And there is a lot of information that he's written available on the web. But just to summarise some of the things he was saying is that the green road to open access, that's where a university can put the research outputs on their own repository, not in the form that it necessarily is in the final publication, but in the form where it's been peer reviewed, and the university, most publishers will allow universities to put that information on in their repository, and that's the way that we're going to get most of the research outputs that have been locked into very expensive publications available to the world. So if every university puts their own publications using green open access, then it's available to us all. We all play our part, and we build up this huge repository of knowledge which you can access through Google Scholar or through some other open access discovery layer. There is also gold open access, where the final published version is able to be put up. So that's like the PDF in many cases with the page numbers and the publisher's branding on it. And gold open access is important as well, but it's only a small proportion of the 25,000 peer-reviewed, 2.5 million peer-reviewed articles a year. A number of those will be available by gold open access, and that's very welcome, but it's going to be only a small proportion, and so it's only one of the ways that we're going to really be able to make the results of research in our universities available to the world. And he said that universities already have a mandate to publish or perish. We know our researchers know that's the future for their careers, and maybe they should be thinking deposit or perish. Deposit your paper in your university repository, and other people will see it, and then they will cite your research, and the research impact will increase. So that's a message that Stephen Harnard has been giving for 10 or 15 years, but it's still relevant, and it was reinforced at that conference. And another paper was given by our former president, Maria Heine from Delft University of Technology, saying it's all about the happy user. So knowing what our users want and what makes them happy. Our digital resources with the big deals mean that this careful collection management that we did in the past is no longer needs to be done in the same way. We buy the big packages from the publishers, and we get access to all of that information. And the same trend is happening for books, that we build up intelligent profiles based on what our university's research is about, and the publishers can send us the books where we buy a few books. Or in many libraries, they are moving away from buying books at all. They'll just buy them if someone asks for it. If somebody asks for something on interlibrary loan, if it's in print, it's often cheaper to buy the book than to get it from another library, post it to your library, wrap it up again, post it to the other library. So we're changing the way we provide information, and it's about making the users happy. Now, I had the privilege of going to the ICSTE conference, which was immediately after, last year, after the IATL conference, and it was held in Beijing. And the theme of that conference was upgrading information to knowledge. And as I mentioned, ICSTE is not just libraries, but publishers and scientists. And it meant that the conversation we were having there was in a much broader context. It was the whole scholarly communication cycle, from researcher to publisher to librarian to user. And it was a very stimulating conference to be at. And one of the slides that was presented by somebody, one of the speakers, and it really impressed me, and I think it brings home the size of the change that we're dealing with when we're talking about disruptive changes. And this slide, if you can see it there, says that it took 2 centuries to fill the Library of Congress with more than 29 million books, 2.4 million recordings, 1.2 million photographs, 4.8 million maps, 57 million manuscripts. So 2 centuries of collecting that material, of cataloguing and making it available, and that information can be available in digital form in 5 minutes. So how are we going to catalogue it and preserve it and make it available when there is so much digital information? We have to have new ways of deciding what's important, what do we keep, how do we describe it, how can we use technology to manage this information. And another paper that I thought was very interesting there was from the Korean Institute of Science and Technology Information. So it's a library within that institute, but it's a research institute. And very often in institutes like that, the role of the library is working very directly with the researchers. It's providing updating services about what they're doing their research on. It's staying ahead of what their needs are and providing very personal information services. And that promotes their research productivity. So I think that's the field that in university libraries we're thinking of moving into that area as well, being much closer to our researchers, understanding what areas they research in and trying to stay ahead of what their needs might be. And we can learn something from that. The year before, we had our conference in Purdue University in the States, and we were looking at the evolving world of e-science. And Purdue University, as some people might know, is known as the cradle of the astronauts. So Neil Armstrong, the first man to set foot on the moon, he was a student of Purdue University. And he was kind enough at that stage, I think he died recently, but before, at the time of that conference, he wrote a message to our conference, and it was in our conference handbook. And I think it was very inspiring to have somebody like Neil Armstrong tell us that our experience of knowledge of library and archival sciences will be called upon to bring structure and order to scientific and technical data. And he said, yours is as great a challenge today as understanding the Earth's place in the cosmos was in the 16th century for 16th century astronomers, and as human spaceflight was to the 20th century engineers. Discovering how to navigate through the uncharted territories of data management provides today's librarians the opportunity to participate in one of the great challenges of the digital information age. So thinking about what we're doing as similar to those great explorers navigating the world or the astronomers navigating the universe, it was very inspiring to have Neil Armstrong tell us that's how important what we do is and how serious we need to take this role. And we also had the director of the National Science Foundation at that conference, and he had a similar message for us. I can't think of a more important yet daunting challenge than ensuring the utility and integrity of research data in a digital age. So the National Science Foundation now requires every grant application for research to have a data management plan, and it's the same in Australia and in many other countries. And we need to evaluate and validate data. That message is one we have to take note of. Now, my second to last slide, another of the speakers who was very controversial, he put it into perspective for us, saying, best is the enemy of good, so don't try and make everything perfect or you won't do good things. Sometimes you have to do things that will be good enough, but not try and make them the best, and that's a quote from Voltaire. So data curation, we can't afford to curate all the data, and when you think of how much data is collected in 5 minutes, we can't curate all of that data. So we have to make some decisions about it. He said we have to recognise the fears of researchers who sometimes say, well, what are librarians? Why are they asking me these questions? What is the library doing in this field? And for some researchers, they may not want to share their data, and it might be they're afraid of somebody else getting their knowledge first. They might be working in a new area, so that might be a genuine fear. So there have to be ways that data can be embargoed and not necessarily shared, but at least preserved until it's able to be shared. There might also be a fear from researchers that their data is wrong and that they don't want to share it. And that's a real worry because, as he said, they need to be more careful. This is making it much more transparent. But the economics are that it's very expensive. And so the second to last dot point, his decision making was that when you look at the data, if it's very valuable, you know it's valuable, then you need to be sure you curate it. If it's worthless, then you can dump it. We can't keep everything. And if you don't know, then you freeze it. You make sure that at least you can go back to it and catalogue it, but you freeze it in some sort of preservable form. So that decision making of which data we curate fully, which we can throw away, and which we keep suspended until we can make the decision. And his last line was, people are concerned about privacy, and he said, we already have zero privacy, so we need to get over that. So that's just a snapshot of some of the things we cover at our conferences and the range of people who speak at IATL conferences, and how by sharing this information we learn from each other and make sure that our universities have the benefit of that. And thank you for listening. Thank you.
Our next speaker is going to be Professor Wheelat Wu Wong. He's the professor from the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Thammasat University.
Good morning, Professor Aili Dua, the president of IATL. First of all, I would like to thank IATL and the organizer of this workshop for inviting me to be a speaker here. I'm honored and then delighted to be able to speak in front of this large number of library directors. First of all, I would like to start by give some warning that I have never been trained in library science or management science, and I also I have not been trained in library science and management science, and also recently I let it go to library. Okay. Because you see later that most of the researchers they use these devices instead of going to the library, and I also have never managed any library, unlike most of you. Therefore, my talk will be my perspectives on these library management or innovation management from a researcher in information science, and they're also not on the innovation management per se, but I wish to share with you my views on the technology that probably will enable this library innovation. So I start with what's now, and by looking at a big picture of the direction of the strategy of Thailand. So based on Thailand's 11th National Economic and Social Development Plan, which starts from this year until 2016. It's a 5 years plan. We have in the past half century, we have 10 plans, so this is the 11th one. So Thailand is going to base its future development on knowledge, technology, and innovation. And research and development in science and technology will be a driving force. As probably you know, that Thailand is one of the so-called middle income country with the per capita income of about 5,000 US dollar. And there is the so-called middle income trap. In order to jump from this 5,000 US dollar to 10,000 is quite difficult. And in order to overcome that, we need to use the science and technology. Okay? And also Thailand wish to develop the lifelong learning society. And also in this aspect, libraries will play a very important role. So that's what is the big direction of Thailand. Now let's look at other countries. Okay, we have this learning society, reading books. So this is what happened in Haiti, and this is what happened in Greece. Okay, and this is what happened in Japan. Very good atmosphere. I wish to read a book in that flowers as well. And also this is in Indonesia, Salam. Students still reading book. And we have this in Canada, British Columbia, on a train. And we have this probably in a library, a school library. And we have this in North Korea, a serious officer probably preparing for his examination for promotion. And we have this very relaxing in Australia. Probably most of you agree. And we have this in Kosovo. And we also have this in Singapore. I hope that, I guess this is probably a bookshop, not a library. And how about in Thailand? Unfortunately, we don't have such interesting photo. The reason why, look at the statistics. Okay, this is the number of the books read per year. So we have in Vietnam and Singapore. So they read about 60 books per year. Okay, and then we have at the rightmost the Thai people. How many books the Thai people read per year? It's about 2 or 5 books per year. Therefore, I guess the photographer came to Thailand, but he didn't have any chance to take such a photo. So that is what's happening in Thailand. But despite that fact, okay, Bangkok has been selected by UNESCO to be the World Book Capital in 2013, next year. Okay, and if you look at these 2 photos, you see how we Thais are serious about the event. Okay, and on the other hand, the usage of internet is increasing. Sorry, it's in Thai, but the trend, the different colors indicate different groups of people. For example, the red line indicate a group of people in the range of 14 to 25 years. So all increasing. So more and more people in Thailand are using internet. And this trend is also the same internationally. But look at the international, particularly in USA. What do the college students use when they are looking for some information? And this is a survey by OCLC. Interestingly, they use search engine, okay, and Wikipedia. So 90% of the students will use all these tools. And unfortunately, look at library website, almost the low, it's 0%. So this probably indicate the fact that we have built interesting, powerful OPAC, but probably very few people are actually using this OPAC now. Okay, so that is a trend, and there is also a trend. We also have some trend that the working group on the future of bibliographic control of the Library of Congress make 3 recommendations on the 9th of January. The 3 recommendations are to develop a more flexible, extendable metadata carrier. So far we use MARC as encoding format or carrier, but it's going to be changed. And then the second recommendation is to integrate library standards into web environment. The third one is to extend use of standard identifiers. And the expected outcomes are library bibliographic data. We move from the closed database model to the open world web-based model. And these recommendations have been materialized or become more concrete 3 years later. Okay, there is a proposal for a new bibliographic framework, again by the Library of Congress in October last year, about a year ago. So the MARC format will be replaced by a new format. Okay, and the future bibliographic control will be based on linked data principles, which I will explain briefly later. And the resource description framework, a language, will be used as a language to describe this bibliographic data. Okay, and actually, things has actually been materialized already. The WorldCat of OCLC has already been implemented in terms of RDF or resource description framework or linked data. Okay. So starting from June, and I think if we go to this WorldCat of OCLC, you can probably download all the bibliographic data in terms of RDF or linked data. Okay. And this also a trend that people start to open, okay, the resources that are available. So look at the last one. I think it's very interesting, that statement that if we can put a man on the moon, then why can't we launch a Library of Congress into the cyberspace? So this is a trend. I think that I think in the previous speaker mentioned that we spent 2 centuries to collect all this. Then all these materials probably will be available on the internet soon. And not only the materials in the library, but the data itself is also going to be available openly. So there's a trend. Okay, I think there's these National Institutes of Health has made the policy that any projects funded by NIH, the data that has to be openly accessible. Okay, and not only NIH, but I think the NSF, OECD, and other organizations also have put that as a policy. Okay, so data will be available, widely available, openly available. And not only these funding organizations, but researchers themselves also form a mechanism so that research data can be shared. And this website is just an example. This Dryad is an international repository of data underlying these peer-reviewed articles in the basic and applied biosciences. So all the papers that are published in the journals, their data will also be available and will be on this website, so that other people can verify, can validate, or can reuse this data. And as of yesterday, I just checked last night, yesterday this website contained 2,273 data packages, okay, from this about 6,000 data files and articles with 170 journals. Okay. So you can go to the website and then download this data. Okay, so I think this sort of things happen and indicate some changing environment. Okay, so library users now include not normal scholars, but also those who want to read everything related to their research. Okay, they want to have their own personal libraries, and they want to have their work known by other scholars, and they want to work with other scholars. And then last, very important, they want to reuse, analyze, and mine the data that are available. Okay, so that's what they want to do. But the reality is this. Okay, there's this lot of data. Okay, and then they actually cannot manage. Okay, and then they need your help. They need your help of the librarians. Okay, so in order to handle and manage this kind of research data, there's a need to start a new discipline. Okay, we need to have a sort of super data specialist. Sometimes we call data scientist, and this is going to be a new discipline, a new study area called data science. So data science is going to be an important area, and I think that most of the major high school or information school in the US have started to develop curricula for this new discipline called data science. Okay, so that is what's happening now. So what's next? Library mission. What will be the future mission of the library? Okay, I quote from Karen Coy. She said that the mission of the library is not to gather physical things into an inventory, but to organize human knowledge that has been inconveniently packaged. Okay. And in order to do that, then we must unpackage our data. Okay, so unpackage is important, so that the data can be repackaged, repurposed, reused for other purposes. Okay. So what I foresee, I think that in the future library is going to be a kind of cyber physical platform. So it's a platform that combines cyber, the internet, and also the physical space. For this aggregation or packaging, aggregation or packaging of data, information, and knowledge. And it also will be a platform for the engagement of knowledge creation and knowledge management. And also it will be a platform, what I call scholarly commons. It's a sort of extension of learning commons, so that the scholar can socialize, can know each other, and build up the networks. Okay. And what do we mean by disaggregation or unpackaging of data? By data, it could be a book, it could be a report, it could be a bibliographic record, or it could be anything in the library. And then I give an example of data in terms of bibliographic record. I think most of you are aware of this. I intentionally put this small circle because it's a symbol to remind all the librarians that is a catalog card. Okay. So we have this normal catalog card. Okay, I just give an example. So this is the book ID, and the author of this book is Kukrit Pamod, is well known, Mom Ratchawong MR. And the title of the book is Foreigns, in Thai, say Pandin. Okay, it's a text. And this, what do we mean by disaggregate or unpackage this catalog card, is to decompose this card into these 3 statements. Okay, so the first piece of information will be converted into this first statement. So a statement consists of 3 components. The first component, my library, is a resource, and the second component is called property. Okay, so this RDA, the new this ARC2 author. So the author of this library is this person with the ID 9529786. Okay, and with the namespace VIAF, this virtual international authority files. Okay, and the second piece of information will decompose in the second statement. Okay, that it has the title to be for lens, and then the third one will be this one. Okay, so that's what do I mean by disaggregation or unpackaging of the information. Okay, so if we look at this again, that we decompose our bibliographic record into the three statements. And these three statements could be abstracted into this diagram. Okay, so just change this so that we can talk more about this. Okay, and the color is important. So we start blue, red, and then green. So correspond to blue, red, and green. Okay, so the three concrete statements are abstracted into this notation. And each of these statements called a triple. A triple because it consists of three components. Okay, the subject, the predicate, and then the object. Okay, and this triple, of course, can be represented in terms of graph as well. Okay, so we have subject, blue, and then the middle one, predicate or property, and the green one, object. Okay, so when you have this statement, then you have three arrows. You have arrows corresponding to red, purple, and then orange. So you have red, purple, and orange. So this is another way of representation of these triples. Okay, and these triples are called RDF. Okay, and so what's going to happen when we say that we are going to unpackage our data? Okay, so one sees that from a bibliographic record, it will decompose to a set of these triples. Okay, and if we want to display, we just aggregate, select some of these triples, and then form it into the package that we want to show to our users. So this means that you will have a flexible data catalogs. Okay, you are going to have a flexible bibliographic data. Okay, and what is going to happen actually has happened already. That these triples will be put on the cloud, on the internet, and will be shared. So what WorldCat, OCLC WorldCat has done actually decomposes catalogs into triples and put it into the cloud. Okay, so you have this cloud of the triples. There will be billions, trillions of the triples where the users, libraries, and publishers can share. Okay, I gave an example of bibliographic records, but by data it could be a report, a research report that contains data. So data that contained in any report could also be disaggregated or decomposed or unpackaged into a set of triples. So data, scientific data will also be represented in terms of these triples. Okay, then a new user, okay, then can select some of the data, add some new data, and then form a new report, a new research report. Okay, so that's what I'm going to see. And it's not only these reports, but books also is going to be disaggregated into components. So we have a page of this book that composed of 4 components. So we have the YouTube, we have one YouTube, and then 2 URL link, and then the text itself. Okay, this also be decomposed. So a page of a book could be decomposed into these triples. Okay, and so what's going to happen is that then we're going to share data, okay, in the cloud, pieces of data. So that is an example where users, researchers, university, and laboratories now can share this data and can reuse, repurpose the data that are available in the cloud. So there will be cloud of linked triples, and that is called linked data. So RDF is a triple, and then when you link, then you become linked data. Okay, and has already happened already. So we have a huge cloud of triples already, and this is called LOD cloud. Okay, and of these, there's some collections that related to libraries. So there are some examples. And what I have said is not it's a dream, it's reality. There are now a number of libraries that have already published their biographic records in terms of triples. So these are the libraries that have started to do that. So we have the National Library of Austria. We have the Deutsche National Bibliographic. We have, of course, the Library of Congress. We have the British Library. We have the Swedish National Library. Okay, so these major libraries have already started to publish their data in terms of this. Good. Then the question is, how about Thai libraries? How we are going to do? Okay, how we are going to join this trend? So how we are going to share the metadata about the Thai libraries? And how to use metadata among the Thai libraries and with the libraries outside Thailand. How are we going to do that? And how to look metadata for traditional library resources and also for research data. Research data also need to be cataloged. We need to develop metadata for research data as well. And are the Thai libraries going to publish their metadata as the link open data? So this is the issue that I wish to share with you of you. Okay? And what I want to say, once we do that, then we might be able to link actually libraries in Thailand together easily because we share the same cloud, and we also, our cloud can also be shared with the cloud available internationally. So with this, it's also possible to extend the networking to the other countries. So we could start with the ASEAN, with the EU, with the SAARC, the South Asian Association. Okay. So how to do that? I think there's some possibilities that we can do that. But the important thing is that I wish to recommend all the Thai libraries to use standards. So from now on, whatever you do, look at the standards. Okay. And the second one is try to employ open source software so that you will not be locked in by any vendor. Okay? And the third point is that since there are new things coming up, we need to train our people. We need to build our capacity. So there will be a number of things that we need to do that. And along this line, actually, my team, together with Thammasat University, has started to go along this line. So we are going to replace this commercial software package by an open source software package called Koha. Okay, and so we plan to deploy this system before the beginning of the next academic year, which is June next year. Okay, and is probably going to be the largest implementation of the Koha in this region, at least in this region, because Thammasat University library has about 1 million records. So it will be one of the largest implementation of this open source software. And we wish, of course, to share our experience with the universities in this region. Okay, we have done some technical testing, and we are confident that we will be successful technically, okay, to implement this system. So this is just an example that of the prototype that we have developed. Okay, so it actually is has all the necessary functionalities of any integrated library systems. Okay, and so this what we have done, and actually in order to increase the reading habits, actually we also have a plan to develop what we call bilingual e-books that have both English and Thai. Unfortunately, I cannot connect to these websites. Otherwise, I would be able to show you how we develop these bilingual e-books, which are all open access. So it means that all the Thai students can get access to these books that have both English and Thai. We are working on this project. Okay, and then what should Thai libraries do at the end? I think the answer to this question is very simple. Simply work together. Okay, Thai libraries have to work together and work together locally as well as regionally with the other ASEAN member countries, and then also internationally. Thank you for your kind attention.
Welcome all of you to the International Association of Scientific and Technological University Libraries Consortium. On behalf of Thammasat University, I am very pleased to welcome you all here and congratulate to the organizing committee for having this event possible. On behalf of Thammasat University again, I would like to share with you that we promote internationalization as well as the quality of learning and excellence. So we always consider that libraries will provide a key mechanism as a facilitating measures that allows education to be even more fluent, and all the libraries network will allow students and professors to utilize these resources which are now available not only in published forms but also in electronic forms. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity for all of the delegates from all over the countries to share your knowledge, your ideas, your comments, so that we can help each other develop the mechanism of education and make it as the learning for the society, not just limited to only our students in a particular university or particular country. Finally, the world will reach the ultimate happiness, and throughout the knowledge that we have, I'm sure that all the countries will learn from each other as well. Thank you very much.
It's very important that libraries remain or keep being innovative, because the higher education environment is changing so quickly, and the role that libraries can play is very different from our previous role of managing collections. It's still the fundamentals of librarianship are about organising knowledge, but it's about organising digital knowledge and making sure that it contributes both to learning and research in our universities. So some of the skills are our core library skills, but it's a very different environment. We need to be innovative in the way we keep up to date for our users. IATL can contribute hugely to this, because we can't do it on our own. If we try to do it on our own in our universities, we just have our own ideas. When we come to IATL conferences, we share our knowledge with each other and we get good ideas from each other that we take back to our institution. I think the other value for IATL is that because we focused on science and technology information, we have a lot of expertise in that area, and it means that we've got a lot to share but a lot to contribute.
Because of the advancement in the ICT and the internet technology, the environment has changed. Therefore, libraries also have to change their systems, their services. And because of particularly the impact from the web and the internet, users normally search or look for their information through the web rather than coming to the library. Therefore, there's a need for the library to have to change their services, their formats and their platforms. I think that in the very near future, the libraries may have to come up with a new form of services. It provides an opportunity for library directors to meet among themselves and also to share their experience and and then to discuss about possible changes and solutions for the future of the library.